So I've talked about this unprecedented eviction crisis that we're currently facing it, and that's going to continue to get worse in this country for a while now. Before the coronavirus started, there were record numbers of evictions and people being thrown out of their house. And since the coronavirus and the economic depression started, the number has just skyrocketed exponentially, the amount of people who are at risk of eviction. 50 million people have filed for unemployment insurance for the first time ever since March. Since March, unprecedented. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this. These are people who went from having a job or maybe more than one job and stream of income to having no income basically overnight. And the federal government has bent over backwards to deny them any benefits to help them get through this. No UBI, no Medicare for all, no rent and debt cancellation, none of that. So when you have all these people with no income, there is going to be an eviction crisis. These people will not be able to stay in their homes without intervention from the government. That's how we see numbers like the 30 million people at risk of eviction by October. Right now, and during normal times in the U.S., there's usually around 800,000 to 1.5 million homeless people in the country. We are talking about throwing out 30 million people out of their house in just a matter of weeks. And the response from our government, like I said, it's been laughable. You get the CARES Act, a giant corporate bailout, give away to corporations and the richest people in the country, millionaires and billionaires, people who did not need government assistance. They were the ones who got the overwhelming majority of the government assistance, $5 trillion in the CARES Act. The initial response was to pull off an elaborate fucking scam and heist to roll the American people and give taxpayer money to the rich. A giant upward transfer of wealth. That was the initial response from our government. Then months go by. They could have ameliorated this. They could have said, you know what? We tried this and boy, it didn't work. And you know what? It's insanely immoral the way we handle this crisis. Let's go back and try to do this again. They could have tried to added more benefits for regular people, got a UBI in there, everybody getting a recurring $2,000 a month payment. Or you could have had definitely Medicare for all to deal with the pandemic, for which we are the epicenter of, worse hit than any other country in the world. No, didn't do any of that. And then here we are, weeks, the eviction bans have lifted in many states. Landlords have already begun to flood the eviction courts to process the eviction and throw their tenants out. And brings us to where we are here. There was a video that was spreading on Twitter this week. I mean, I've seen some fucked up shit. I've seen some terrible shit. I know our government is capable of doing horrible shit. But this is just so senselessly immoral. Now let me get to the video before I describe it. Let me just set it up and play it. So there's this woman, has COVID-19, tested positive for it, has problems breathing, on an oxygen tank. 5 police officers come to her house with eviction papers, throw all her shit out onto the street, and kick her out of her house and have her sitting there on the sidewalk. Served her an eviction while she's currently dealing with the worst effects of COVID. So it was disgusting. I have the video. I'm gonna show you. It's about 2 minutes long. Then we'll come back and discuss it.
So I've got a friend who was getting evicted. They're throwing everything on the front street. Bunch of cops and sheriffs here.
Just came out of the blue. This attorney, Anthony Bradley, said his mother owed medical bills. He went to court while I was in the hospital. I've got COVID, as you know. The heart, blood pressure's up to 150.
So your partner left you this house.
Yes, I've got paperwork, but they've all got it.
And you've currently got COVID?
Yes. I've been in the hospital. There's medical bills that my partner's mother owed. They came after it almost 2 years after she died. So they're trying to sell the house to pay her bills. I offered to pay him. He apparently apparently set a court date while I was in the hospital, but nobody served me or let me know.
The opposing attorney said the house was abandoned while she was in the hospital with COVID-19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 police cars. So they made you leave the house while your oxygen was running,
Yeah.
and now your oxygen tank is
I
empty.
don't have my oxygen. They wouldn't let
Our priorities in this country are fucking backwards. I mean, just think about this for a second. I'm almost at a loss for words here. Somebody who is suffering from a deadly disease that is ripping through this country, taking the lives of hundreds of thousands of people at this point, millions infected. She's having problems breathing. She's having trouble breathing. And our system puts such an emphasis on property and money that an entire eviction process went through. And at a time when this disease was spreading, a court said, you know what? I don't care if you, whatever your situation is, your financial situation is, I don't care, whatever it is. I understand there's a pandemic going on, but something, property rights, and we're going to tell you to get out of your home so that another person can take it, possibly sell it or rent it out and make money off of it. And you can go in the street, catch a disease, and die for all we care. What the fuck? What the fuck? And this part is speculation, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys think about it. This has to be some type of corporation or entity that specializes in buying up foreclosures and flipping them, selling them, renting them out, or whatever. That's really what this is, because it's not like she was renting this house from somebody and some working class couple, and they desperately need the money, or their house is going to be foreclosed on. No, that's not what this is. This was a house that her husband's mother owned. She died, had debts, and passed it on to her son, and then he died, and then people are coming trying to collect on the debts and trying to take the house so they could sell it for a profit. That's what all this comes down to. And our entire system, from the eviction court with the judges and all of that, to the police officers, they were like, oh, right on. I'm all on board with this. Let's kick this person out of this. And on top of that, she already had COVID. She was already dealing with this deadly disease. She was already having breathing problems. She was already on an oxygen tank. And they all said, fuck it. Let's throw her out so somebody can make some money off of it. A corporation is probably well off already, probably owns many different properties and is constantly selling and flipping and renting out properties. Well off financially. They wouldn't be hurt if they didn't get this property. But let's kick her out anyway. Something property rights, something enforcing contracts. Like, goddamn, we really need to evaluate what's going on in this country, because the lack of humanity and understanding. Right now, my twin sister and my mom have COVID. So, and my sister is more sick. She had real bad cough. She had a fever, throwing up violently, all those things. While somebody's going through that, for the state to come with the full force and authority of the state and throw them out onto the street with all this stuff on the sidewalk. I mean, god damn it. That is disgusting. And she got to a point where, with all this commotion and stuff going on, that her health condition started to deteriorate while all this was happening. Had to call an ambulance. Ambulance was trying to take her to the hospital. She can't go to the hospital with all her shit on the street because people are going to take it. And the police just sitting there. Fuck it. This is just our job. We're doing our job. I don't want to hear it. We can't do anything about it. Yada yada. He told the man, why don't you take her to go live with you? I mean, fucking Christ. And eventually all this ended when somebody got in contact with the health department, and the health department had to override the entire eviction process and say you can't throw somebody out who has a documented case of COVID. You cannot just throw them out into the street. The health department had to override them. Where was the health department during the entire eviction process? I don't know. Why didn't the eviction judge, the judge at the eviction court know this? Why didn't the police officers know this and enforce this? I don't know. But it had to take a whole fucking spectacle and people getting involved into the process for the health department to say you can't do this eviction, at least right at the moment where this person is suffering from COVID. This is insane. We need a national rent cancellation. We need to cancel rent on a national level, because this story is going to happen in every single state, every city in every state. This is going to happen. So are we going to sit back and let this happen? And everybody who's well off, everybody who didn't lose their job, everybody who has savings, everybody who might not be in this situation, are they just going to turn a blind eye while 30 million people get thrown out of their house and like, oh, well, it's not me. It's not me, so they should have made better life choices. They should have planned better, or they should have had savings or whatever. So whatever happens to them, it's not them. Are we really going to let that happen? Are we all really going to sit back and watch people get thrown onto the street like this? Under normal circumstances, it's incredibly immoral to throw somebody out onto the street. Incredibly immoral. But now, in an economic crisis and a global pandemic, while we're at the epicenter of a global pandemic, we're really going to be throwing people out in the street. Nobody in government is working for people. Not even the best elected representatives. None of them are actually fighting for rent cancellation. None of them are actually fighting for debt cancellation. None of them are fighting for a permanent ban on evictions for the duration of this crisis. None of them are doing it. All of it is piecemeal. You have AOC. AOC did a fucking hour-long talk show telling people about eviction defense, telling you how you should call a lawyer and how you should navigate the eviction process and how you should, all this stuff that you should do in a last-ditch effort to prevent yourself from being evicted. That's what AOC was telling people to do, instead of actually fighting for a national program to help those people. So this isn't going to happen without massive social unrest. I'm just going to be blunt. You're not going to throw 30 million people out onto the street without riots and chaos and just fucking mayhem and bedlam. It's just not gonna happen. They're not gonna just twiddle their thumbs sitting on the fucking sidewalk while somebody just threw them out of their house, and then some real estate developer is gonna flip it and make huge bucks off of their place, and they're just living on this. That's not gonna happen. So my hope is it doesn't get to that. My hope is people wake up and force politicians to do the necessary policies. But if that doesn't, and if these evictions happen and in at millions a clip, and giant waves of evictions start to happen, the best case scenario is all these people who are newly evicted start protesting for economic relief, a real people's bailout, Medicare for all, UBI, rent and debt cancellation, federally subsidized housing for people who are homeless. That's the best case scenario. But like I said, if it could just really devolve into social unrest and fucking mayhem and bedlam. But we are not in a good place right now. Not at all.